All right, the sanity slipping, wild claims, and bizarre moments in the Satoshi identity trial. This is going to be day 21, Copa versus Wright. Breakdown of the closing arguments. This is Gavin, Mehl coming right at you. Stand by for the whole recap. All right, so for today, we started back off with Jonathan Hoff back on the stand. Now, Hoff is for Copa, and we had Gunning for BTC Core. We had a new barrister for BTC Core as well, the developers team. And then we had Mighty Lord Gavin come up at the end, a distinguished gentleman from London for Dr. Wright. So real big, earth-shattering, closing here. This is absolutely stunning. So stay to the end. I'm going to break this down because it's something that probably maybe a little confusing for people. So I'm just going to kind of let you guys, know exactly what this stuff means in my interpretation. As a non-freaking lawyer, man, that's it. From California, I'm not no UK attorney or none of that stuff, but I know the freaking law. Okay, that's all. Let me just go ahead and start with part one for Hoff. He got up and he discussed allegations of inauthentic documents and CSW's claims about key drives. He talked about signing sessions potentially being spoofed. He covered CSW's lies about PGP keys, Bitcoin transactions, conversations. He mentioned Reddit users' EagleTM account. Hoff also downplayed CSW's expertise and credentials. And he discusses the Tulip Trust documents. Then Gunning came up for BTC Core developers. He then wanted to clarify the Tulip Trust documents to avoid re-litigation of the parties. And he said that Copa proved CSW is not Satoshi. He attacked CSW's Bitcoin code concepts and his knowledge about the Bitcoin code. He says that CSW, meaning Craig W. Wright, tailors evidence to known Satoshi facts and that he's a con man and a fraud. He criticized the LaTex document excuses. There was another speaker that came up after him, which was a young lady, young barrister. I didn't catch her name, but she questioned why Coinbase and Kraken are mentioned if it's currently stayed. Now, she wanted to clarify that. And then she also said that why CSW's involvement in Bitcoin is so controversial. She wanted the case to end CSW's preparation of being Satoshi. So she suggests ordering a joint trial to wrap everything up. Looks like she could have been representing the Coinbase and Kraken defendants on the other cases to follow. So, all right. So now here comes Lord Gavin. I mean, I'm giving the floor to the guys here in the beginning. And as of yesterday, just following up, it looks to me like if you just watched one day yesterday, shoot, it looks like Copa's going to win. If you watched that one day yesterday, because it doesn't look good. And if you just watch these first three counsels going up and arguing here, it looks like Copa's going to win. Okay. However, I've been following this thing from the beginning, inside the courtroom every day, recapping on every single analysis. And now it's time to bring forward the things I already said in the past on closing for Dr. Wright here with Lord Gavin. All right. And this was, I was on the edge of my chair. So hopefully, I can really do justice to the mighty Lord Gavin of what he's due. He highlighted CSW's relevant degrees and qualifications. He cited witnesses and evidence like draft papers and dominions, mining, and defends why CSW couldn't fully answer some of the questions. He pushes for a no standard signing session finding, meaning that no stage signing session finding. He went into the Gavin and Andreessen signing session and said it wasn't staged, and he said it wasn't even alleged to be staged. And there was a very important distinction because I'm going to break down here what he said about these court cases here. But, one of the things that's interesting is that in order for you to allege fraud, all right, in order to allege fraud, it has to be pled with specificity and it has to be shown how it occurred. Not that it might occur, but that it did occur. And that's a big, huge, it's a specificity of pleading standard. This was a major point on the stand by Gavin. He pushed that it wasn't pled, nor was Wright given the opportunity to be cross-examined about a potential stage signing event. So in 2016, they had this Gavin and Andreessen signing, John Matonis signing, and the expert was the lady over there, Dr. Mickeljohn. She says that it was staged, and she argued facts. Now, Gavin was basically asked to strike her testimony because her facts were, she wasn't a fact witness. She was an expert witness. And those facts were not for her to decide. In fact, he pointed out that she left out some facts. So I'm going to get back to that in a minute. But he also criticized the Madden report. If you guys remember a couple weeks back, I said, well, only chance Dr. Wright has to win this case, the only chance he was going to lose is if he could strike the Madden report. That was it. He had to get rid of the Madden report. He had no rebuttal evidence. He had no chance to beat the Madden report. Basically, if it gets in, he's done. Well, what happened? Madden came to court. He crapped the bed and he wrecked his own testimony. And he admitted that he didn't write the Madden report. And that's what basically Gavin brought up today, is that they spent 8 days together with counsel for Copa writing the report. And he also mentioned how in those 8 days, Madden had never testified that he'd never done this type of expert report before, where he had been having somebody else completely do it for him. He was just kind of advisory role. It's like, and Gavin said, well, why do they even need to meet once? He's the expert. Let him write the report 8 times, 8 work sessions. No, that's unacceptable. He asked the court not even consider the report, just to get rid of it. It's completely not independent. And it looks like that's going to happen. Madden, I don't see how his report's going to stand. That's huge for Wright. So he discussed the BDO, 2009 BDO planner, and then he mocks Gunning's Merkle Tree comments. And he called Mr. Gunning as an expert witness, like Gunning was making testimony before the court. Attorneys can't testify. Well, in this case, Mr. Gunning was trying to testify as an expert, and literally, Lord Gavin mocked him on that as like a little brother, bossed him up. All right, so here's the cases that he cited. We got Davey versus Garrett, 1887 to 78. This was a case, an old English common law, old English case law that established the principle that fraud must be distinctly pled and proven, rather than just using words improperly. One of the other cases was Three Rivers District Council versus Governor and Company of the Bank of England, more recently in 2003. It's a more recent House of Lords case confirming the courts cannot just make findings of dishonesty against parties based on facts that were not specifically pled. So when I'm talking about specifically pled, it's a very technical, scientific, legal term. And what I mean is that when Michael John made these allegations as the expert, which is according to the original pleadings, that there could have been a staged signing that happened in 2016 with Gavin and Dreesen. Could have been. Okay, yeah, it could have been. There could have been a hack. However, there was no specificity of how it did occur. It must be very clear and scientifically spelled out. If it's not, it fails. That's just the law. The court doesn't have any decision. He has no discretion to say, well, let me just decide it might have happened this way. Because White House versus Jordan, 1981, a well-known case, says that discuss the need for independence of an expert witness and avoiding excessive. This is actually one that's relevant for Madden, but let me just go over it now. It says, this is the Madden one. It says White House versus Jordan, the need for independence of an expert witness and avoiding excessive influence from the instructing lawyers. So the authority on that says it right there. They've got to be independent according to White House versus Jordan, and Lord Gavin argued that today before the court and put it in there and asked the court to take notice of it. So, there's some really, so Lord Gavin basically came down to 3 points on this fraud, deception claim that Copa is trying to bring, is that, number one, the requirements to distinctly plead and prove fraud allegations. Okay, so take it into context, is that Lord Gavin mentioned that when Wright was back up on the stand, so he was brought in that last day, one more time. And at that time, what Lord Gavin said, that was the opportunity for Copa and Jonathan Hoff to question Wright on the 2016 signing and give Wright the opportunity to either admit or deny that he hacked in and deceived the 2016 signing with Gavin and Dreesen. They never brought it to him. It never even got plugged in. It's like a fatal error on Copa's part, an absolutely fatal procedural fumble. They literally had the ball, fumbled at the end zone right there. I mean, they had to ask him that on the stand. That was their one chance. That was the one question they had to ask. Now, if he denied it, hey, they could bring it up. But they didn't even ask it to him. That was Gravenue's point. So the 2016 Steining stands. It stands. I mean, because there's no specific pleading. Wright never had the chance to admit or deny that he hacked into the signing session with Andreessen. And then it goes back into Mehljohn, where Mehljohn is saying that, she was attempted to be a fact witness and not just an expert witness. So the second part here was the courts cannot infer dishonesty from unpled facts. So when the court is looking at the case, he's looking at all these documents, right? And all the facts. Okay, he can't just infer, well, there might have been dishonesty in that 2016 signing, but, nobody really said how. Maybe there was a hacking from the government. It was a big hack. None of that was specifically pled. Fraud must be very concrete, it's scientific. It has to be right in there. The words must be articulate of how it happened, and then they got to prove that happened. So the pleading statement. So the last thing is the need for an independent expert witness. And again, we have Mehljohn, problem with her, and then also we had a problem with Mr. Madden. And Lord Gravenu asked him to strike the report. So one more thing that is relevant here is the Jenkins testimony. Again, we talked about it yesterday that Jonathan Hoff, he went after Jenkins. Jenkins was the guy that came in and testified and said that he got the Timecoin white paper from Dr. Wright. And so what was clarified today by Lord Gravenu was that the Jenkins, Mr. Jenkins, actually in the Granoff case. All right, so people who are not okay. Let me just drop this down, man. People are just confused on this stuff. I God bless them. But, in the Granoff case, all right, what happened that was relevant to this, the Norway case that people online talk about, look at what happened over there. He's screwed. He's going to lose. No, what actually happened was the transcript, this came out now, is that Jenkins testified on the transcript that the transcript wasn't exactly, it wasn't cited in it perfectly. What actually happened was that in Granoff, Jenkins testified that he had never been sent the Bitcoin white paper. But he never was asked if he ever saw one. Saw. Two different words, like seeing it in person, being sent one in the mail or email. He never got one in email. He never got one in mail. And what came out today in this hearing was that he actually received a copy of what's called a Timecoin white paper at a meeting with Dr. Wright at a dinner in 2009. Now, immediately thereafter, Judge Miller got up and says, "Hey, why wasn't that in the witness statement?" Lord Gravenu was gracious to say, "Indeed, Your Honor, that's for you to decide. Whether or not you can hear the Jenkins stuff. With or without the Jenkins stuff, I'm not seeing how Copa is going to be able to pick up from their fumble right here with Madden, and also where they've completely fumbled the ball and not cross-examining Wright, for the 2016 signing and giving him the opportunity to say, "Hey, Dr. Wright, you staged the whole signing with Gavin Andreessen. You hacked the whole thing," and really diving into that. They just dropped the ball. That was they had this claim that they believed it, but it was never specific enough. So two big fumbles there by Copa. This goes to Wright, today on closing. And I'm sorry, we got one more day of closing. So it definitely goes to Wright. I mean, with this thing by Lord Gravenu, it was on the edge of my chair, but it was really amazing how the presence this guy has in the courtroom. A lot of respect. And no disrespect to Hoff or Gunning or the other barrister. They did a really good job too. And I highlighted this, but the blockbuster stuff is coming from Lord Gravenu, so I spent more time on it. Hopefully I can come off at more neutral. I mean, really, I really want to come off and just report this and give you guys the facts on this and the law the way I'm seeing it, again, from a non-lawyer's perspective. Big announcement in San Francisco this weekend. We got a huge all-star closer coming in to talk. One of the guys I'm a big fanboy of, the 7-foot-tall giant Jack Lew. So I hear he's 7 foot tall. I really don't know. I could be Joe. I heard he could slam dunk a basketball. So he's going to be there closing out San Francisco. So don't miss it. It's sold out, but there's going to be standing room only. If you register with Xiaowei, you probably get a seat in there, or at least standing room. There may still. That being said, hit the like button, share the video. All right, leave a comment below and get this out there on Twitter if you're on there, and I'll see you guys at the top. And tomorrow for the final day This is Gavin Mehl.